In this video, we're going to talk about perfectionism and OCD and how they interact, what potential connections they are. So maybe you're a perfectionist and you're wondering whether you have OCD or is it something different, what's going on there. So we'll answer that here. I'm Chris from the Leeds Anxiety Clinic. I've got my colleague Chris here as well.
Hello.
So I guess we should start at the basics, like what is perfectionism and how would someone know if they're a perfectionist? What kind of things might they encounter there?
Okay, so I guess a definition of perfectionism is having impaired ability to judge whether you're good enough, and so as a default, to avoid feelings of not being good enough, you require yourself to do everything perfectly. It's an absence of the ability to judge, masked by just the demand to be perfect.
Yeah, so I've got a report to do at work and I'm a perfectionist, and so what's going on there? Like I don't know when to judge, when I should just say, stop, right, I've spent enough time on this report and send it off, whereas someone else will be more relaxed about that. They won't be having the same, I guess, panic, fear that I'm having, that it's not good enough.
Yeah, if I can wade right in and go for the sort of anthropological argument, we are all fundamentally hunter-gatherers. Our limbic system and amygdala, the old fear processing part of the brain, the old emotional part of the brain, is, cultivated through evolution, certain types of ways of being that ultimately in hunter-gatherer times resulted in more surviving offspring. It's a brutal way of looking at why we are the way that we are. But I think we're all pretty status-obsessed animals. I think we evolved to live in tribes of maybe 150 hunter-gatherers. We hunted, we gathered. There's a clue in the title what it was that we used to get up to. And for 4.99 of the last 5 million years of evolution, we were dead if we did not have our tribe like us, value us, and have status within that tribe. So one of the primal fears that most human beings have is that they are not liked, thought of as being healthy, thought of as being useful, and thought of as being loyal by their tribe. So I think everybody, every human, needs to feel connected and valued by their tribe. Where an anxiety sufferer might come into it and develop perfectionism is this idea that they don't know if they're safe within the tribe. Their perception of themselves, which I won't go on a tangent and take up the whole video, but their perception of themselves over the lifespan, given that they have a biological predisposition to overestimate threat when they're presented with uncertain circumstances, they may have developed over their experiential lifetime a whole series of beliefs about themselves that they might not be very useful to the tribe. They might not be very valued by their tribe, but it's all shrouded in uncertainty. So you and I might be secure, we might not be anxious, and we might just default to assuming that unless someone's shouting at us and calling us a crap tribe member, that we are securely attached to the tribe and we're valued and we have status, and if the food runs out, we'll get fed, because we're valuable to the tribe. Whereas somebody who's anxious, who overestimates threat when presented with uncertain circumstances, might not feel sure that they're valuable to the tribe. And in actual fact, they might feel the need to make that uncertainty go away by over-delivering berries, hunting, gathering, whatever you want to call it. So I might have the fear that I'm not good enough to bring it into the modern context. I might not feel respected within the team. I might not feel liked by my boss. I'm not sure. That's the thing. I don't go around and ask everybody, can you tell me am I respected? Can you tell me am I liked? Because that's not the done thing. But in my mind, I harbour a fear that there's uncertainty. I can't tell whether my colleagues like me. I can't tell whether my boss respects me. So when it comes to writing that report, the fear is, what if this is the only thing that's keeping my job? What if this is the only thing that's going to impress my boss? What if this is the only thing that's keeping me safe within the tribe? On that basis, I can't tell whether this piece of writing's any good. I can't tell whether my boss likes me or my colleagues respect me. I'm just surrounded by uncertainty and anxiety. So the only way that this feels safe to hand anything in, given that I've no idea what my starting point is, it had better be perfect. If I gather all the berries and I hunt all the animals, they can't not like and respect me.
So it almost sounds like it is quite OCD, because there's an obsessive thought of I'm not good enough in the tribe, and there's a compulsion of, all right, well, I'll go gather more berries. So where's the line there between OCD and perfectionism? Or is there one? Does there need to be one?
I think there does. The perfectionist can get some respite when they are not asked to produce something that can be perfect or otherwise. So if I'm a perfectionist and I'm on a football team and every weekend we're going out and we're scoring goals and whatever else, then I'm going to get some respite from Saturday tea time through till Friday lunchtime. And it might only be in the 24 hours before the football match that my perfectionism kicks in and I start worrying that I'm not respected. What if I don't score enough goals? I need to score all the goals. I might get some respite from it unless the challenge is imminent. If a piece of coursework is due, or if a football match is about to happen, or whatever. Whereas the obsessive is very unlikely to get respite from their obsessiveness. That brain of theirs is likely to be working 24 hours a day on some manifestation of threat.
Right. So we're saying that perfectionism is kind of a response to a challenge, whereas OCD is more like a background thing of these intrusive thoughts just come anytime without any cueing.
Yeah. I would go so far as to say circumstances can drive perfectionism. Being judged, as in having something visible where your tribe you're going to be on display, your tribe are going to get to see how valuable you are. That's going to create an incredible amount of pressure for the display to be perfect. So you might have a kid that sits quietly at the back of the class all year, doesn't put his hand up much, and is pretty happy. But then when it comes to the carol concert and he's shoved up front, and suddenly all the parents are there and the teachers are making a big fuss about this carol concert, it might then start to give the poor little kid sleepless nights, because he's about to be thrust into the spotlight and judged by the tribe. But for weeks and weeks on end, he might get away with that. Whereas the obsessive is likely to be having intrusive thoughts, actually more likely to be by background stress. Without going off on too much of a tangent, the thing that will increase the number of intrusive thoughts that an OCD sufferer has probably not got much to do with the intrusive thoughts themselves, and probably got more to do with how busy they are, how stressed they are, how tired they are. If I'm in the middle, if I'm having intrusive thoughts occasionally that I might kill a cyclist in my car, I might be having in the middle of a divorce, and there's worries about who's going to get custody of the children and who's going to get the house and whether it's going to be acrimonious. And my thoughts about harming a cyclist have gone through the roof 300%. Whereas when me and the wife are happy and we're, plotting holidays and sort of loved up and friendly and walking on the beach, I don't have the thought that I might have harmed a cyclist. I know it seems like there's a real disconnect there, but it's the stress that drives my obsessiveness, because it's a brain function, whereas it's the actual act of being judged by the tribe that will hyperinflate someone's perfectionism.
Yeah. So I guess someone watching this, they're thinking, well, I am a perfectionist, so great news that it's different from OCD. And maybe they're thinking, well, okay, well, it's pretty good then, because actually I only get stressed when there's a challenge, and that helps me to do things to a really high standard. So what are the kind of downsides of perfectionism? Where does it become a hindrance or
Yeah, there's a very old piece of psychology. It's spelt Yerkes-Dodson, a Yerkes-Dodson curve, and that basically describes how stimulation and impairment end up on the same graph. So if I'm under aroused, if I don't care about a problem, if I'm not motivated and I'm half asleep and I am lazy, unmotivated, then my performance is going to be impaired because I don't care. Why try harder? I don't care about this problem. Then as I start to become more anxious about the problem, I start to become more aroused. I start to become more engaged. I start to become more motivated. And at the top of the Yerkes-Dodson curve, which is basically anxiety versus productivity, I'll find myself in the sweet spot of, I really care. I've got something I really don't want to lose here if this goes wrong, but I do think I can do this well. I'm in the sweet spot of maximum productivity. The problem is, once I start thinking, this is never going to work, I'm too stupid, I've taken too much on, everybody hates me, I'm getting thrown out the tribe anyway, I was never good enough, I'm going to fail. My productivity goes back through the floor because I become hyper aroused, completely impaired, and I can't do any productivity. So it can be, if you're a perfectionist, you'd better be tracking your productivity accurately and knowing what works well for you. If you're a perfectionist who leaves everything till the last day and then needs a mitigation for because you can't work on the last day, you'd better know that you need to be a week before deadline actually starting the work. But likewise, if you're someone who can work extremely well with a rocket under them, and you've got a track record of leaving it till the last day, and then your perfectionism kicks in and you can deliver 24 straight hours of hyper productivity, then please tell me how you do it, because that's not who I am, and I would like to find out how you do it.
Yeah.
It's about knowing who you are and what's worked in the past. If you're deluded and you think your perfectionism is helping you achieve greatness, but it's actually meaning that you're not taking on challenges because you get overwhelmed and your productivity collapses the minute you put yourself under the spotlight, then you probably want to do something about that.
Yeah. So, of course, at the clinic, we specialize in anxiety and OCD. What kind of situations might a client come in with perfectionism, and what kind of things would we treat them? Like when do we need to deal with that? When can we just ignore it?
Yeah, it's to do with impairment. If you've got somebody who is a FTSE 500 high flyer type, who's a bit of a perfectionist, and their shoes are polished and their hedge funds performing well and they're banking the dollar and everything's going well for them, but they are working 80 hours a week and they feel like they must work 80 hours a week. And when you talk to them about offering them an alternative lifestyle where they might slow down and they might not be a perfectionist and they might not feel the need to work all the time, and they tell you that they can't imagine anything worse than that, and clearly we're not going to go around badgering people into adopting lifestyles that they don't want to adopt. But when we are talking about somebody who's underemployed, somebody who's underachieving, somebody who's bright, somebody who has the capability to do more complex tasks than what they're currently doing, but they get the yips, if you like, for want of a better explanation, that as soon as they take on a piece of work, it overwhelms them. They feel oppressed by it, and depressed by the fact that they can't take on responsibility, or they can't step up, or they can't do work equivalent to what their intellect is capable of because the pressure gets to them. So they're living a small life where they don't take on work commensurate with their intelligence, then there's a real problem there. And that's something that we can definitely help with. The number one thing that we want to help people recognize is they are not good judges of how good they are at doing tasks and how liked and respected and trusted they are within the tribe. That's the number one belief that we want to challenge. So to go back to basics, anxiety is a disorder where when presented with uncertain circumstances, we overestimate the threat contained within those circumstances. So if a secure person sits within their tribe and looks around and sees neutral faces, that secure person will think, I'm related to these guys, we're hunter-gatherers, why would they not like me and trust me and respect me? I feel pretty safe here. The anxiously attached person, or the insecure person, might look around at that tribe, see neutral faces, and the question will pop into their head, how do I know whether these guys like and respect me? What if they don't? What if they think I'm a hanger-on? What if, because of memory processing bias or information processing bias, I'm negatively, selectively remembering all the times I didn't bring berries back, and I'm feeling like I'm not respected and liked by the tribe? I might be remembering times when I've been criticized, forgetting all the times when I've been praised, and I might be thinking these neutral faces are very threatening and maybe I'm not so welcome within the tribe. If I think that's because I'm a good judge of tribe faces, and I think that's accurately telling me that I'm a potentially low status, unsafe tribe member, then I'm going to buy into a strategy where I have to be perfect in order to be public. I'm going to shy away from completing tasks where I might finally make the last mistake that finally gets me thrown out of the tribe, and I have to wander and perish because hunter-gatherers didn't do very well on their own. But if I can start to challenge that there's a much better explanation for why I don't feel safe in the tribe, and that's that I've got a fear-biased brain, and a good therapist and a good client-therapist relationship can uncover some of this stuff, and I can see that I've got a track record of grossly underestimating my popularity, likability, security within the tribe, and actually I thought I was rubbish at maths until I got an A star. I thought that girl didn't like me until she asked me to the dance. I thought my brothers thought I was useless at hunting and fishing until they asked me to go camping with them because I'm great at hunting. Do you know what I mean? If we can look at examples of when you've been wrong at estimating your popularity or your security within the tribe, and we can find lots of examples of them, then we can start to formulate a hypothesis that you've actually got a fear-biased brain. You don't have a rubbish at life problem. You have a rubbish at perceiving how good at life you are problem. And the more we can start to reframe the problem in those terms, the more we can see you don't have a unpopular position within the tribe problem to fix. You have a perception of your popularity within the tribe problem to fix. If it's problem one and you're rubbish, then you'd better be better, and that report had better be A1. But if your perception of your value within the tribe is that you've already won, you just can't see it, then you can phone that report in, get a C, and be fine. Here's the paradox. The more you can give yourself permission to phone it in and get a C, the more you're going to get a B.
So I think that's an important point, because someone might be watching thinking, well, I'm a perfectionist and what you're telling me is I'm overestimating threat, and actually I could turn in a rubbish report, but then I would be lowering my standards and producing lower quality work, and that feels very uncomfortable. But what you're suggesting is actually if we challenge some of those thoughts and reduce a lot of that anxiety, that it actually doesn't impact the quality of the work. What it impacts is the wasted productivity time.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are genuinely turning in A's, then you don't have a perfectionism problem. What you have is a diligent, hard-working ethic, and you just have very high standards. You crack on, my friend. But if you're not turning work in because you can't tolerate turning in something that might not be an A because that will get you thrown out of the tribe and then you'll die, and you're actually filling in mitigation forms left, right, and centre, or having to pass work on to other people because you can't do it, then you have a perfectionism problem. And I promise you, getting a B will be significantly better than what you're currently doing, which is not daring to risk not getting an A by turning nothing in.
Yeah, so it's that it becomes a problem when you're noticing that impairment.
Absolutely. Yes.
And arguably, if it's not impairing your life, then maybe that's something that you don't need to tackle.
Yeah, if your jealous friends are telling you that the reason why you're working so hard is because you're a perfectionist, when you're earning twice as much as them and turning in great work, then you might have a friend problem, not a perfectionism problem. But if your friends are telling you that you're bright and you're capable, and the reason why you daren't put your head above the parapet and risk exposing yourself to new challenges is because you can't tolerate failing, then you might have a perfectionism problem.
So hopefully that's given you some insight into perfectionism and the differences between perfectionism and OCD. If you have found this useful, then please give this video a thumbs up. And if you want to learn more about anxiety, OCD, those kind of things, then that's what our channel is all about. So hit that subscribe button because we'd love to see you in another video.